SpiritDAO. SpiritDAO, spiritdao.org, is the formal organization facilitating the proliferation of the single truth and the relational universe as a spiritual alternative to the dominion hierarchies of the present. The organization serves three core purposes: spreading the message of self-actualization in the age of crisis, providing value and utility to members, and serving to strengthen and support other organizations working toward the realization of the 8 dignities. Self-actualization in the age of crisis is a decentralized spiritual philosophy, recontextualizing the universe to be what it is and developing principles and practices around it. It is a system of meaning and value, possessing the capacity to evolve whenever necessary to meet the needs of the individuals practicing within the moment. It encompasses our embrace of new core values, definitions of progress, visions of the future, and the gnawing desire for transcendent being that compels us to act. We build a community around our shared understanding of individual and system as the single self, where each member is a stakeholder, free to contribute to our shared advancement in the direction of their choosing. The single truth is rooted in choice within the moment, and SpiritDAO represents our shared commitment to actionizing our ascendancy. With that said, nothing is required to practice personal values in alignment with the single truth. Unlike spiritual technologies of the past, self-actualization does not leverage coercion to leverage members. All are free to contribute in whatever direction and degrees they desire. Our analysis of the single truth and the relational universe leads each of us to a question. Do we embrace the universe for what it is and begin the work of transformation of individual and system to better reflect this understanding, or do we turn our attention back toward the systems and behaviors propelling us toward the age of crisis? Should you choose to participate and contribute to the alternative vision of humanity outlined herein, you will never be alone in your journey. It will not be easy, and we will suffer many frustrations before we realize our visions. Yet there is divine beauty in our capacity to redirect ourselves, to know that despite the seemingly insurmountable obstacles reinforced by immovable systems, we are willing to direct focus and energy toward a greater vision of ourselves. In that, there can be no failure. Humanity is awakening at scale thanks to the changing nature of time. SpiritDAO serves to guide this process toward the realignment with nature. What we have lacked is a vision compelling enough to catalyze activity. I believe the journey toward self-actualization in the age of crisis is the best alternative. The long-term vision for SpiritDAO is to embrace the decentralization of operations to the greatest degree possible. To do that in a sustainable manner that prioritizes the organizational mission, we begin with a term-limited core team to help us lay the foundation for future success. As our community grows and our resources become more plentiful and diversified, we will continue carving paths toward sustainable decentralization. Eventually, we will arrive at a moment where the DAO is able to support itself through automation and open access work, without the need for a centralized team. The core charter will guide all efforts, and the community will have a significant role in determining the direction of our collective focus and energy from the start. The DAO will form a religious nonprofit corporation to protect all stakeholders and open up opportunities otherwise unavailable. Membership will be represented through individual tokens that will empower access and agency within the organization. These early adopters will purchase a responsibility that every token holder inherits. SpiritDAO tokens are not issued with the intention of acting as a store of value. Instead, they represent membership. Although releases of tokens will be staggered, our long-term objective is to provide one to every individual who openly embraces the single truth and our shared journey towards self-actualization in the age of crisis. SpiritDAO is an inclusive community. SpiritDAO's primary objective will always remain focused on building community around the single truth through spreading the message and providing benefits to members. One of the primary benefits of DAOs is their ability to connect people beyond geographic boundaries. However, there are genuine benefits to be realized through the congregation of the community. One pathway toward this is developing physical and metaverse spaces, facilities acting as spaces for community retreats, rituals, education, and collaboration that serve members and non-members alike. Mid to long term, SpiritDAO might seek to organize and facilitate relocation efforts for community members who want to live close to practitioners and their families, building community in our own image. Metaverse spaces are an increasingly popular connection point for many and would strengthen efforts to spread the message. The expansion of the physical community is important in relation to our capacity to build systems independent of what is. The digital community serves as the nexus of global ideation and effort. Both serve to spread awareness of the single truth and support its embrace. Both provide value and utility for participants. SpiritDAO serves as a vehicle to support both individual and systemic actualization, to build and maintain the infrastructure necessary to support a global community and their respective projects. This includes the development and organization of tasks associated with new ideas and roadmaps supported by the community at large. The future of human organization will spring from decentralized microcommunities, where individuals of like mind will gather to bring their visions to life without the burdens of geographic limitation or rigid hierarchies serving to enrich the few. Facilitating this vision requires the development of exclusive marketplaces that empower inter-community exchange. Accessible only by token holders, these exchanges enable communities to develop wealth. Full membership will be tokenized and carry benefits unavailable to non-members. At the time of this writing, the plan is to issue an initial fundraising round of membership tokens in 3 different intervals and quantities, each possessing unique sets of benefits that will not be replicated in the future. See Figure 9 for details on the approach. After the initial round, the community will vote on proposals for a more expansive approach to membership. One possible idea is to leverage a coin that can only be earned through the contribution of time. This can take a variety of forms, such as personal education of our spiritual technology and the contribution to community needs and projects. These tokens can then be exchanged for access to community resources and full membership. Full members will be represented by a single token, which will leverage recent innovations and act as non-transferable records of contribution for the individual. The idea of soul-bound tokens was first introduced by Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin and later explored through the lens of how they might transform society. SpiritDAO can serve to further this vision. Value and utility can be developed in many directions so long as they support the 3 core purposes of SpiritDAO. As earlier explored, developing inter-community reputation and accreditation systems will help determine the depth and frequency of member benefits. Physical utility can take the form of our community centers, the preparation and facilitation of high ritual, access to community events and organizational resources, and the tools necessary to share the message widely. High ritual includes the growing and distribution of psychedelic mushrooms for our sacred spiritual practice. We claim sacred fungi and plants as essential to our religious practice and develop the mechanisms and pathways necessary to provide our members access to them. Virtual utility is even more varied in the directions it may take. My experience leads me to believe that one of the first undertakings should be a community intelligence dashboard, where members will have easy access to organizational data. It may also take the form of more expansive DAO tooling, content delivery, and other community-directed virtual services. There are no limits to the directions our promoting the embrace of the single truth may take. SpiritDAO will manage a community treasury that may be funded from various sources. This book will serve as a source of community funding upon the day of its release. Every book, audiobook, and ebook sale contributes to the community on a sliding scale. Contributions are delivered as a percentage of net revenues, whereas contribution levels are in relation to gross sales. See docs.spiritdao.org for details. The resale of our initial tokens will generate surpluses over time, as will the services we provide for members. All excess is funneled into the community treasury. Our physical centers will provide services to community members and non-members alike, further diversifying our revenue streams. Similar to other religious corporations, the DAO may acquire other real-world assets to further serve community members. Today, religious corporations hold billions in securities investments. There are few, if any, limits on how SpiritDAO might generate revenue to expand individual and systemic actualization. There is a stark difference between the organization and purpose of the DAO when contrasted to hierarchy-based spiritual technologies. SpiritDAO will not make any preacher a multimillionaire or hoard wealth and knowledge under the lock and key of elite members. It serves all members through the lens of equity and relation. It is transparent, unbiased, and favors focus and energy above all else. Our rooting of spiritual philosophy in the expression of our divinity within the moment empowers individual choice. The organization of our efforts through a DAO empowers the majority to participate. Proposals for initiatives are put forth by, voted on, and executed by the core team and community members. As previously explored, DAOs are not about every member voting on every topic. Voting can be delegated to trusted community members and is dependent on individual authority and contribution. Opportunities to contribute exist in a wide variety of degrees and directions for token holders and non-token holders alike. Imaginative projects will create a variety of demands for skills, ranging from routine to strategic. SpiritDAO will also play a vital role in onboarding people into the DAO infrastructure, serving as a perpetual education center for members and non-members. Individual choice to participate in the advancement of SpiritDAO is vital to its success, so collectively we must work toward strengthening the organization to a point where ample opportunities and resources are available to contribute to. This occurs through the development of our central objectives and through the support of other DAOs, focusing on the development of the 8 dignities. Those seeking alignment with the single truth but lacking the freedom to dedicate focus and energy toward project contribution can still engage regularly with the larger community through our public communications networks and content streams. SpiritDAO serves as the cornerstone of the foundation supporting a reimagined human time experience. Speaking from the perspective of my personal journey, SpiritDAO is a lifetime commitment. For me, there is no greater cause than transcending the age crisis through the realignment of human meaning and value systems in accordance with the single truth. This section provides only an overview of the organization and mission from a bird's eye view. A more in-depth documentation may be found at https://spiritdao.org. If this text inspires your imagination of the possible, I strongly encourage you to make the choice to be a part of our journey in whatever way you can, even if that is just dropping by to say hello in our social spaces. There are many like you who embrace the single truth and the relational universe, and in doing so, choose to work toward a greater vision of humanity. Together, we can transcend the burden of our inheritance, aligning moment by moment toward an alternative vision of human capacity. When we choose to begin the journey toward self-actualization in the age of crisis, we rebuke the default apathy our present systems encourage. I genuinely hope you will join me in this shared vision of bigness. Our journey toward self-actualization in the age of crisis is a process of consistently revisiting where we are in contrast to where we desire to be. Although there are many well-intentioned pathways toward a larger vision of humanity, none provide us with a degree of clarity of how we go from here to there as much as our embrace of the single truth and the relational universe. The alignment of individual and system toward a greater and more expansive self provides a framework through which each may develop their own path toward expressing divinity within the moment. We seek nothing less than to unleash our infinite imaginations onto the entirety of the universe, so that we might begin to understand our true purpose and power in being. Self-actualization in the age of crisis is a commitment to the reimagination of the systems of meaning and value from which all else is rooted. It is both an individual choice and a collective collaboration to spread awareness and embrace the single truth and the relational universe as a spiritual philosophy. Although individual and systemic actualization develops in many directions at once, we must be vigilant in sharing and spreading the ideals. We embark on this journey knowing that inhabiting a time experience at the edge of crisis demands action, but the established systems of meaning and value propelling us toward the crisis resist. Our alternative vision of individual and system as a single self is a choice to redirect ourselves from the trajectories our pasts place us upon. It is an opportunity to shape ourselves in our own image. As we have explored throughout the text, transcending the crisis is a choice. Collective action is secondary to the individual embodiment of values and practices. Although this text is intended to be a foundation upon which we build, it is an inadequate framework for the future greatness we have yet to imagine. All revisions will share a single commonality. They will be bound to a universe governed by the single truth. Perpetual change, as the fundamental reality of being, helps illuminate solutions to some of our most pressing problems, obstacles that our present frameworks of being offer no hope of overcoming. There is no alternative to emergent transcendence and the effort that the choice demands if we seek to overcome the crisis. We must decide to personally embrace new definitions of meaning and value if we are to create systems that reflect them. Embracing the single truth and the relational universe is an active effort. Passive belief is certainly better than non-belief, but does nothing to bring the individual and collective closer to our shared vision of transcendence. Action is in many ways burdensome. It requires us to dedicate our limited focus and energy to something outside the defaults we prefer, such as luxury or relaxation. It is therefore necessary to begin with why, a challenging task, given that the answer is rooted in the individual time experience of the observer. To this end, I can only share my personal perspective, one rooted in a deep love for present and future humanity. It is a journey I undertake for my child and the approximately 73 million children alive today who have had no say in being born into a world on the verge of crisis. Individuals lacking the access and agency to choose an alternative, yet will bear the brunt of our choosing inaction. Our awareness of the age of crisis brings us to a proverbial fork in the road. It is a choice between devastation or transcendence, one to be determined by individual awareness and courage to be more than the past we have inherited. Are we willing to embrace the other as one, a fractional part of the greater whole that we each embody? I refuse to accept the crisis. We are choosing to dedicate our powers of creation to remaking the universe in an image of our choosing, one that maximizes access and agency for all, so that we might finally realize the depth of our divinity within the moment. The single truth requires no believers, but we would love to have you as part of our community.